All right, guys, welcome back to this evening. Successful night last night. So we're moving on to pick and roll offense with Sean Ingle, current Temple Oak National League Women's head coach, and also Leinster Girls Academy under 15 head coach, former under 17 men's head coach, and under 16s assistant coach. So tons of experience. Great genes as well. Dad, Mark Ingle, current DCU Mercy head coach. So a lot to live up to. All right, Sean. And he's going to
talk in them genes.
And he's going to talk tonight about pick and roll offense, which kind of liaises well into the topic from last night, point guards and forwards. And then genius that is Ciaran Toner. Not many people, I think, have a silver medal in the European Championships and also an All-Ireland medal. So I think Ciaran might be a table quiz question in a few years' time. So 4-time video analysis for Basketball Ireland, 4 Irish teams, and also, as I said, with the Dublin footballers. So getting his thoughts on working in that environment would be very, very interesting. So just a few things going on. I posted the Huddle link and the access code in the handouts again this evening. We should have immediate access now as of today, so hopefully the issues of waiting won't be as long, and we can move on from there. And if there's any more issues, all 4 clinics so far are up there. 1 or 2 presentations still have to come in and things like that. So once they're in, they'll go up. Once you register, you're in immediately, and anything that gets uploaded, you get an email to tell you it's uploaded, and you'll be able to access it right away. So it's just 1 registration, and then you're in. So thanks again to Avenir Sports for providing the Huddle platform for us. Continue on. We are about to announce a few more clinics next week and possibly the week after. So we're going to run with the momentum that we have. So the special guest on Sunday evening is Alan Keane from Tralee, GB, multiple medal winner and promotion with GB, also Commonwealth Games head coach, and currently Reading Rockets of the English second tier, where we also had Ciaran Dunn from last week. So big guest on Sunday evening. And then we're going to continue on next Tuesday and Thursday and go, hopefully make that a routine moving forward, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we already have our speakers lined up for that. Danny Nelson on Tuesday evening and Tommy O'Mahony on Thursday. And we will continue to move on. So yeah, it's building up, and I'm liking what we're achieving. So that's for that. In terms of questions, keep putting them into our question section on the sidebar. And also feel free to contact us after webinars. You know, last couple of nights people have posted some questions. I've gotten onto the speakers, got the answers back and given them back. So feel free. Love to talk basketball, so keep it going and all that sort of stuff. So contact anytime and we go. So without further ado, less of me, because that's what people want to do, and we'll talk with Sean Ingle first, and then we move on to Ciaran Toner. So Sean, I'll make you presenter, and yes, we will rock on. So 2 seconds there now. So Sean, you should be able to share your screen anytime you're ready to go.
Yep. Is that shared there now?
Yep, see that?
Can you see that yet?
Rocking.
Okay, hold on, I'll just minimize this, yeah?
No, I think you're good. I can see it clearly.
You can see everything, yeah? Okay, sorry. Okay, so first of all, I just want to thank Paul Kelleher for setting us up there and putting all this together. I think it's a great initiative, and just hopefully there'll be a lot going forward there from what Paul was saying. So lots of big talks and big presenters coming on now in the next few weeks, and we've had some great coaching points from the last few presenters as well. So what I'm going to talk about today is basically ball screen offense. All we're going to do is just go on here. So just quick introduction. So we're going to talk about some individual technical components and basically between the guard receiving the screen and the screener itself, and what they're just a couple of things that they're going to have to do in terms of, you know, setting wide screens or the angles and stuff like that, or vision and stuff like that. So after that, then we'll go into how I kind of like to teach the pick and roll. You know, when we introduce it, what concepts we're looking to use, and then from there maybe go into some pick and roll spacing, so different kind of spacing opportunities and concepts again of, you know, strong side, weak side, and the helps and stuff like that. And then just to finish up, we'll just look at some tactics versus some different defensive coverage that a lot of coaches here would see in Ireland. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, some screener rules and some screen receiver rules. Vision. So vision is the main thing on both of them. That kind of underpins basically everything we want to do. We must see the floor no matter what we're talking about. I know Aaron was on the other day speaking about that it's more of a 5-on-5 game, especially with the pick and roll, because we need to be able to see what each defender is doing in each area and how to attack it. So it's vision is our main kind of component on both of them. So just here on the left hand side, you see screener rules. So our first thing is we're going to look to arrive without our defender. So a couple of ways we can do that. I know Puff and Suzanne were on the other night talking about being deceptive. Okay, so that's kind of our main point here. We're looking to, I don't know, like fake away and then sprint back into the screen. Some coaches might want to, you know, set a screen, pin down for the screener to sprint into the screen, just to kind of delay the on ball, the screener's defender to the screen. So we could do that with, you know, a pin down or maybe a flare screen and run it into the pick and roll. So stance, as you can see, wide and low, and then stance here would be wide and low. And then what we want to look at then is when we get to the screen, we want to be thinking about the angles that we're going to use. So especially for, you know, under 14s, when we start introducing pick and roll concepts of gets and stuff like that, what we don't want to have is, you know, the screener's back to the sideline, because more likely than not, they're probably not going to be able to shoot that three. So where the screener's back is where they're going to be open. The first phase is where they're going to be open. So what we don't want to do is have them coming off and the three being the first thing they see. So if you can angle your screen towards the end line, then we'll look at, you know, what we say is getting downhill. So after that, contact on the screens, making sure we smash the defense, right? Contact, and then nice little saying here from Peter Lonigan that I like is see it, slice it, and separate, and that can be used for the screen receiver as well. So sorry, just a second, I'm just going to move it up there. Okay. No, don't leave that. Okay. So as you can see, then what we're talking about there is, okay. So just screen receiver, then we're talking about vision again. We want to create time and space. So on the catch or whatever we have, or with the dribble, we got to create time and space between ourselves and the defense by use of pivots, again, deceptions, fakes, and change of speed or change of direction. So we want to delay our player coming off the screen. Again, when you get the angle to attack, we're going to use the angle to our advantage. And then a big thing that Puff talked about last night was contact with the screener. So we want to be mainly, if we can, get shoulder to hip, but sometimes that's not realistic. So shoulder to shoulder at least. So we don't want we want the defense to force the defense to make it go over or under the screen. And again, both of these, we want to be aggressive throughout the whole pick and roll play. So we want to look to attack the basket, no matter the quality of the pick and roll defense. So if it's excellent or poor, we got to be in attack mode the whole time until the defense either stops us, then we become a passer, or they don't stop us, then we're attacking the basket. If we're looking to pass straight away, then it's very hard to change your mind and go to an attack mindset again. But if you're attacking first and you see the help coming or the defense stops us, then it's much easier to make our pass. Okay, so just have a little clip here of just some clips just to kind of show this some deception and stuff like that. So we go through it nice and slow here. Here we go. So Steve Nash here is just going to use his pivot. He's going to use his pivot here to create space and create an advantage for himself. And this change direction and change the speed here by Sergio Llull. All right, so he knew the pick was coming there on the right hand side. So we went, now this is my favorite clip here. Just kind of, okay, so again, I think this Sergio Llull. So what he's going to do is just create that space. So he fades away to start. Then he'll start to go, but the defense is trailing him the whole time. So he stops. So the defense is on his hip here. So he stops, and then it's a quick stop, and then he goes again, which then creates that space. Okay, again, changes direction, changes speed. So screen happens, and then he changes the speed to get around the corner, turn the corner, and get downhill. Again, in and out fake, being deceptive, faking away from the screen. Now this is a good example here of getting shoulder to shoulder or hip. I think he gets shoulder to hip here to not let the defender, no space between the screener and the offensive player with the ball. So the defense either has to go under the screen or follow over the top. He looks to reject first to set him up, and then gets downhill. Again, changes speed, slows down, retreat dribble, comes back out. There we go, changes speed. Now we get into this concept a little bit later, okay, of keep on back. But basically, as you can see from them clips, we're just looking at, being deceptive, set up the pick and roll, use of fakes, use of, change of speed, change of direction to attack and set up your defender for the screen. Okay, so we're looking to teach the pick and roll. Basically, what I like to start with is, I don't really like the pick and roll from under 14 down. So under 14 plus is when we like to introduce the pick and roll, mainly because one, the offensive players, when they're thinking, it's very narrow. So like we said, it's a 5-on-5 kind of game. So any between, if we go look at 10, 11, 12, 13s, 14s, even to a certain extent, their mindset is going to be on either themselves or the screen or the roller. So it's basically a 2-on-2 game. So when they get a little bit more court awareness and stuff like that, when they get a little bit older, that's when we start to introduce it. So because it is a 5-on-5 concept. When we're teaching, so again, skills and concepts kind of underpin everything that we do. So we're looking at different passes, pocket, hook, lob passes. They all need to be, we need to be able to do a lot of these and the skill development first before we get into actual pick and roll concepts, because we're not going to be able to execute the right play if we can't throw that pass or an off the dribble, one-handed pass, and for making a pass ahead. Keep on bank concept, again, this needs to be developed. So essentially, I think Ciaran spoke about it before in the small-sided games of giving your players an advantage. But basically, all this is you know, when we creating our advantage, we're going to attack, and we're going to slow up and try and keep the defender behind us. All right, to stop them get back in front, and that's a key concept in pick and roll, especially when the defense is following. And you'll see later in the video that I have just been able to keep them behind us, opens up a lot of our passes and stuff like that. Just when I am teaching it, we like to do two-way teaching, so make sure that you're teaching the offense and your defense when you're doing any of your pick and roll stuff. Basically, time get through it. It helps with the timing of things. Obviously, we don't have a lot of practice time here in Ireland, so you know, a little bit more efficient in your practice. Just learn by doing as well. Okay, so small-sided games the whole time. I like to build it up by layers, so one-on-one with cat and mouse, because they're similar to pick and roll concepts. I'll show you some drills here in the next page with some cones and chairs that we like to use to just try to build up that deceptiveness and running, making sure we're making contact with the screen, or you know, being deceptive and changing direction and changing speeds. So I like to kind of build it up with one-on-one, two-on-one with a screener, then maybe two-on-two, then three-on-two, three-on-three, kind of like as if you were doing a kind of a fast break type of development. It's kind of the same concept. And again, you can use these. So if you've heard about, I think Ciaran was talking about them the other day, just phases of learning and for decision making. So phase A, we're obviously talking about no decision. So we'd be really focused on our footwork or, you know, our technical skill components. Then you're looking at phase B, maybe one decision, read one defender, or like a guided read for the defense. It could be a coach or whatever. And then phase C, two or more decisions where now the players have to make a read on the play. Okay, and then phase D, then we're getting into live play then. Two big ones to kind of follow there for some great ideas online on Twitter. There is Michael McKay, I think, and Alex Sarama. They were, I think, Ciaran spoke about them a little bit in his presentation as well. So I like this from Alex Sarama. So once we kind of, the kids get a little bit confident in, you know, making reads on the pick and roll. So maybe against a drop, the switch, a trap. So it gives them a menu of the defensive menu. So they're going to stay for 3 reps, offense for 3 reps, defense for 3 reps, and then he will, you know, the defense can make a decision. All right, so you have to do drop once, you have to do trap once, you have to do switch once. But the defense is allowed change it. They could go BAC or CBA or ABC. It's up to the defense which way they want to do it. So that kind of makes it a little bit more game-like and helps the offense to progress. So just really quickly, bringing through some quick drills I explained about in the first day. So here we have our one-on-one pick and roll example. What we're doing here is we're creating our space with our pivot, using our pivots, stuff like that. And then we're trying to bring the defense into the chair. So we're trying to make them hit the chair or a cone or whatever you have down, or a couple of cones. So we're trying to make sure we're making contact with the cone or the chair first. Again, one-on-one cat and mouse here in the next one. Like to attack, so defense is on one side of the cone, offense on the other side. You can start this with a live dribble on the catch, or make dribble moves first. But basically, defense chooses which side they go. I think Ciaran went through a little bit of this. Choose which side, and the offense attacks the other way. Again, you can put your own constraints on any of that. I really like this one here in the top right. It's great for off the ball reads. So basically, you kind of make a small square with cones. Rules are that the defense, so neither the offense or the defense are allowed into the square. So defense obviously create contact and it come off the screen. We make a pass. If the defense is kind of going under the screen, we might, you know, catch and shoot it, or then it'll be into essentially as if the defense went under a screen or a dribble handoff here, and then they chase around, and then you're into the cat and mouse here again. If they follow it here, we're looking to curl, but they're all kind of build and help each other out in terms of the concepts, and they're great drills to do because you don't have to explain anything. Just give them the rule that offense and defense aren't allowed into the square, and they basically make the reads themselves. You know, they see the defense going underneath the square, they may step back and fade or whatever here for a shot to get open. Just quick builder example of building up our pick and roll. Your ball will start in here at the post layer, we throw it out, and then we'll sprint out to try set up our step up screen. And essentially you can do that with 2v1 here with this being a live screener. Again, calling it early, make them go over under the screen, whatever way you want to do it. This is it here now, again, 2-on-2, but maybe with a coach just to kind of help with our play. So to come off the screen, as you can see, the defense here is in drop defense, defensive follow. We want to throw back here and then potentially go inside. Look to lob over the top. We don't get it. Throw back on non-aggressive D, and then the coach then will throw it in and we play live. Like we said here, when we like to teach our offense and defense at the same time, like you can do this with anything, with hard hedge, with anything you want, with trap, you know, maybe put a passer over here so it's an easier pass, but just so they kind of understand the concepts themselves. And again, when we're building, we're looking to impact, and remember we said vision is kind of the biggest thing we need to impact. Put coaches maybe on the court or an extra player, so we play 3-on-3, but maybe with an extra player in the corner. I like this drill because it really helps with the vision and being able to see the whole floor. So we play, you know, pick and roll, we lift from the corner here. If this coach or the player puts up their hands or in a shot ready position, we must pass the ball. So that must be a read. So it could be at any time on the pick and roll. So you're coming off here, defense trail, hands go up, we have to make a pass to the coach, and then we reset and play again, or whatever way we want to do it. Again, I think my favorite way to work on pick and roll concepts, both offense and defense, is probably 4-on-4, because one, there's extra space, you know, but you can also work on all your concepts, okay, against your traps, your drops, everything that you see. So every kind of scheme you'll see, you can work on it from 4-on-4, but there's also, you know, extra space, especially when you're working on offense, for things so they'll be able to see everything a little bit more, slow it down so they can see. Just quick video here on some other key concept, the keep on back concept that we were talking about, just so you guys can kind of visualize it. And again, the skills and concepts that they need. So little pocket pass here through the gap, all off one dribble. So he has a hang here to freeze the drop defense, and little pocket pass through the gap there between the two defenders. This is Teodosic, who's one of my favorite players to watch on the pick and roll. So again, off the dribble, hook pass, outside hand, outside his frame. Again, late bounce pass around the defense. As you can see, when he comes off the screen, head up straight away. As you can see also here, all the defense, so all the passes that he's making are off the dribble with one hand. I heard the saying there, I don't know, I can't remember where I heard it, but the only time you'll see at a high level of basketball, you'll see a player or a person pass the ball with two hands is when the referee is handing the ball to the player out of bounds. So we need to be teaching this. You know, if you look at any Spain kind of development stuff, they're teaching that at 12, 13, 14. If you get a chance as well, you should look at some of the FIBA the under 14 tournament in Spain, the Cup, FIBA Europe Cup. Again, these are the keep on back concepts. So Steve Nash slow right down, keeps the defender in jail, as they say, and then he looks to attack when the space opens up. Okay. Okay, so just nice and quick, go through some pick and roll concepts there of where I like to start. Okay, so again, I mentioned Alex Sarama has a lot of stuff on Gets on their Elite Athletes website, or so he has something on Coach Sarah, I think, on Twitter as well, if you give him a follow. I like to start with Gets on pick when I'm developing pick and roll, because one, there's a lot of so there's not as much motion in it, and we're playing off a pass and a catch. So essentially, this player is going to pass to the player lifting to the elbow there, and then we go and get it off him. We pass and go get it, and then we're into our reads. So if the defense denies, we cut back door. You know, if they're going to be late and they're following, we curl. If it's going to be dirty, is it going to be clean? So if it's going to be dirty, which means the defense is kind of in the lane, the passing lane, he'll keep it. The offensive player will keep it. Reverse pivot, he'll curl it, and then we drop it in behind the defense. So that's kind of where I would start. Alex has a great game of I think he calls it battle chips. So he has different areas on the court, which kind of opens up, basically opens up a lot of cutting concepts and stuff like that. From there, I would go to dribble handoffs, but I would have done, this was after I've done like blast cuts and stuff like that, and blast cut reads, because it's a little bit more dynamic and gives it a little bit more of a dynamic pick and roll type of thing. Again, these are just some simple ones, kind of corner empty. When we have a corner empty, when we get to our 5-on-5 play, you'll see these in some of the clips a little bit later. And then we've got some high middle, there's two strong, or there's two players on the strong side as the player comes off. Again, we could have space in here, two weak on this side. And then it's what we call a shake pick and roll, just in this area here. So I just use spread offense for just for the examples, just so it's a little bit easier to see. Just on the clips and stuff, a lot of the European teams use a lot of spread offense, so just kind of keep it all together for you. But obviously you can, as a coach, do it from whatever way you want, 4 out, 1 in, roll and replace. If you have two bigs, roll and under. There's lots of different ways you can do it, and these, you've obviously got ghost screens and Spain pick and roll. There's plenty of different options that you can go to. So just really quick, kind of going to get into just some offensive tactics that I like to use against some pick and roll defense. Obviously, they're not the only options. There's plenty of different ways you can do it. I just kind of did it with like a non-shooting 5, just options that we would use here. So obviously defense goes under. What we'd like to do, first option is obviously shoot. They go under the first screen. We like to shoot it. If you don't have, if you don't have like high level shooters that can make that pull up, what I say, we rescreen. So we screen the ball and then we just twist it and rescreen on the other side, and we attack again. If you have an elite shooter, an elite point guard, or elite shooter coming off the ball screen, and they can make that shot, absolutely, I'll give them the go ahead to shoot that on the first one. But I want pretty much, if we rescreen here and we set a good angle to get downhill and the defense tries to go under again, we should be in this 15 to 17 feet shot. I want them kind of to take that. I know a lot of the analytics say don't take it, but especially if we run empty here, there's no real long pass back to this side. So I want them to take that if they go under the second time. But if we do a good job on our screen angle, they shouldn't be able, their under should be pretty much in the lane. So the defense, like to just top right here, if the defense ice it, obviously if you've your 5 or your 4 set the screen and they can shoot it, absolutely pop that. So defense on the ice, denying the screens and not letting them get to the middle of the floor here. They jump high. What we like to do is what we call flip it. So instead of setting the screen on this side, we'll flip the screen to here, attack, and then dive to the basket. So we separate again, we see it, slice it, separate as quick as we can, and we get to the rim. So just kind of what I like to do with you know, when we're in our spread offense, we got any type of aggressive defense, I like to pass ahead. So we like to pass ahead and roll diagonally, which makes this tag a lot longer. So you'll see in some of the clips when we get a little next slide, that tag is going to be really long, which will open up this pass here, and you'll see it on, I think, Steve Nash's thing. So any sort of aggressive defense, switch, hard hedge, trap, come off the straight, maybe take a retreat dribble here to open up the space, make sure we're available for the ball, make a quick pass, roll diagonally, either force the switch, we look inside. Okay, if it's late shot clock, so that's if it's early. So if it's early in the clock, we like to do that and look inside and take advantage of that mismatch with our, you know, our 5 on our 1 down, our 1 defender down here. If not, then what we like to do, if it's a late shot clock, what we like to do is boomerang pass. So we pass it, we've got our mismatch gone inside, they roll diagonally, but we don't have time to get that ball inside there. So we don't have time to get the ball inside, so we boomerang pass it back and attack this closeout with the guard. Most of the time when you do make that pass, the big will drop into this position to provide help, and then on the boomerang pass back, we like to attack the short closeout. Basically, when you create an advantage, where you pass the ball will determine if it's going to be a bigger advantage or do you lose that advantage. So it's important for us to know that if the players to know where to pass the ball when they see certain types of coverages. Just down here, last one. Okay, if you see the defense follow and drop. So we did a lot of this this year with our team because we didn't have a lot of mobile bigs here, so we just kind of kept them in the lane and were good shot blockers. So we kind of followed over the top here because we couldn't go under the guards because the guards were good shooters. But if you see this, I like to look back and then look in from there. So obviously attack mindset, look for the lob over the top. It's not there, throw behind, and then we throw inside. Another option here, which I'll show you, is like the snake it as well. So that's, I think Puff was talking about that the other day, getting hip to hip. They're following, snake it to that side. Okay, that can open up a little shot for your guard. Or what we call a Gortat screen. So we screen here, and when they're following the defense he's basically going to screen his own defender in the paint, which will open up a layup or a wide open shot then for the guard, or sorry, for the guard, yeah. Okay, last one, it's just a couple of pick and roll concepts just so you can see on video, and then I'll be done. Okay, so sorry, I meant to mention that. So the first thing we want to do is we're looking to reject the screen at all times. I think Puff was talking about it. That's our first thing we want to do, is look to see if we can attack opposite the look if we can attack opposite the screen, where the screen is coming from. So you can see here, screen's coming from here, defense is set up, this player is kind of set up to go here to prepare the defense for the screen, but we attack opposite on the other side. So anytime we get a chance, we want to look to reject. That's our first option. Again, just a couple of rejects. Okay, so here's our rescreen. against the under. So defense went under. The big flips it, twist, and rescreen. We had a lot of success on this year with our dribble handoff or flow motion. A lot of the players' teams went under the first screen. It's a good angle, and then we got an attack on the baseline. Then there's just a triple rescreen, I think. Yeah. Now so this is kind of against ISO. The defense here is not letting Steve Nash go to the middle here. So setting the screen to the middle of the floor, we flip the screen and set it towards the baseline, which again opens up the keep on back concept. And there's your snake. I think Puff was talking about that last night. Then flip it. Here's the Gortat screen here now, so he's going to go and he screens his own man. So Steve Nash is keeping his player on his back. Gortat screens his own man here, and then he gets to get around the other side. But you can see the patience, the vision on the pick and roll. A lot of patience and not in a rush to get anywhere. Sees what's happening. I think the defense helps in here, and we got a wide open shot in the corner. And then Gortat screen again, screen his own man. This is all against drop defense. So you can see the defense back here in drop position. Again, under control the whole time. Okay, so in early switch, early in the shot clock, and we want to look to go inside. Now I know I think he throws behind here. Yeah, so you recognize the mismatch. Gives it to the guard. He goes inside. I think this is double here. Yeah. I rubbed this off basketball immersion. Any I'm scrolling through hours of game tape. Here's the boomerang against the late switch. So pass, look inside, don't have it, and we attack the switch now. Yeah. Again, late switch. Well, it's early in this shot clock here, but we usually like to do it. So pass, give it up, we look inside, don't have it, get back, attack on the perimeter. So this is just against our aggressive defense. The defense, I think, goes to trap or hard hedge here. What I like to do is just give my players the cue that if they see that aggressive defense, that we pass ahead and try to beat the defense's rotation on the other side. Yeah. Oh, sugar. Sorry. Skip that down a bit. Sorry. Okay, so the corner ends up open here. Oh, sorry, that's the boomerang. Let's go back here. Okay, this player, you'll see this player will tag in against the roller. Roller will go to the vest. This player tags in, and that's how they get an open shot. This player tags in the roller, wide open shot on the weak side. Again, here's what we're saying: aggressive defense, hard hedge, switch, pass ahead, and that should open up the lane. Again, aggressive defense, pass ahead, except now they tag in from the other side, which opens up the lift. Here you can see we have a low tag, opens up the corner three. Now this is a high tag, so that was a 2 weak, so we had our 2 players behind the screen. Again, high tag from the top. Now that's the pass that opens up. So again, we need to recognize that, and that's why it's a 5-on-5 game, because the players need to see where the other defense and stuff is rotating from. And I think that's it there. So any questions there? on that.
Hey Sean, great stuff. We actually have a bunch of questions after coming in. Just a couple of things. Just on that, your clips. So what we will do is I'll put the link up. That was FIBA Coach's Corner. You got those that you're able to do those clips on, right?
Sorry.
That's FIBA Coach.
The coach section, European coach section. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll put the link up in the huddle on that, and stuff for that as well. So we will put them up there. Also, Alex Sarama, he's got a free small-sided games document on Twitter. I have it downloaded. I also put that into the huddle, and he's allowed everybody to share it. So that's an easy one to get as well. So I
think that game is in that. Is it?
Pardon?
That game that I was talking about. That one.
Yeah, that's in there. That's in there, and I think there's like 20 small-sided games in there, so it's a really good tool for that. So I'll put that in there as well into the huddle account. I'll go with the questions that other guys have up there, and in predictable fashion, guess who the questions are coming from?
One you anyway. Sure.
How would you teach the slip? Would you introduce it as an automatic where your players just slip regardless of a coverage, so that we possibly create an advantage because the screen is cut, or are you teaching the slip when the screener's defender is cheating the hedge?
Well, I wouldn't. The first thing I would talk about is kind of I wouldn't do it as an automatic, because I want my players to kind of hit the screen. So if we teach the slip early, like I know certain players that I like would be my friends and stuff, like they automatically slip all the time, no matter what, even though sometimes it's not the right read. So I would kind of have them. So when we set the screen, I'd have them set the screen with their vision. Remember we talked about vision, so they'd have their head on their shoulder, seeing what their defender is doing, and then that's when they're cued to slip. That is, unless we know or we've done scouting that we know that that's what they're going to do, and they're going to be aggressive. They're going to hard hedge, or it's late shot clock or late game situations. We know that they're going to be aggressive on the pick and roll. That's when we would either run a go screen or an early slip just to gain that advantage.
Very good, very good. And that goes to a point there. I mean, I was on I listened to a clinic this morning with Liam Flynn, and one of the things he spoke about ball screens was there must always be a separation before the screen is set, whether the point guard has been separated or whether the screener has been separated, and sometimes even both. Is that something that you emphasize as you go along?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if I may have brushed over that or something, but that's what I was talking about, is kind of creating that advantage, either sprinting into the screen, making sure you arrive before your defender does, so that type of situation. Or again, if it was in the first clip, I think creating that separation where he stops, feels a bump, and then accelerates, which then creates that separation for the guard type of thing, or a hesitation dribble or anything like that to give yourself an advantage.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned early in the presentation, and Paul Dempsey is on here, so I'm just in terms of phraseology that we're not getting our young players into it. Smash the defender. Is that a phrase that you use, as it was mentioned earlier on?
I would use it. I don't really use it, but I've heard Alex use it, and I kind of loved that phrasing, because it actually teaches them to set the screens. So I feel like obviously we don't want to be running into and setting illegal screens. Okay, so obviously there are concepts of stopping in early, but what this smash refers to is kind of feel the contact and then make your next move, where it's a sprint out of the screen or whatever.
Very good. Puff on again. So at under 15 level, or even up to it, if you first take a National League, Super League team, are you teaching multiple ways to guard the ball screen right away, or what are you teaching defensively first?
So my first kind of what I would teach defensively is an aggressive defense. So whether it be, hard hedge or a trapping type of situation, one, because it's much easier to go from get your players to go from being aggressive to non-aggressive than, playing something where it's not aggressive, like a drop or maybe a under switch, at the younger age, and then try to get them to be aggressive. So I would teach aggressive defense first, whether it be hard hedge, maybe an aggressive switch, or a trap.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because on that on that clinic today, Peter Lonergan was on there, and he spoke about the Filipinos teaching trapping every ball screen under 14, and even on the second ball screen, trapping every ball screen. He asked the question why they do that, and the reply they gave is, it teaches communication early, it teaches rotations early, and it teaches being in a disadvantage early. So that was their rationale behind on that. So it kind of fits one respect what you were looking at.
Yeah.
The big thing that I noticed also was you were teaching about small-sided games, and the one thing that we do also, and I loved what you were doing, is the 3v2s, the 4v3s, to teach the point guard to see different. When you're doing that, do you give the defense different reads every time to attack, so that the point guard has to see something different, or do you just let the defense go rogue?
Yeah, well, like after we've I mentioned there, I think as well, after we have, become kind of competent with every read, so obviously they have to, you get one read and then we do another one and kind of build it and layer it, like Suzanne was saying the other day. So we're layering it the whole time. Then we get into the menu of, now let the defense choose what they're doing. Okay, so then there's different reads the whole time. So we're building that and building that decision making in the point guard or the player with the ball. Doesn't necessarily have to be the point guard, but the player with the ball, they're building their decision making, because now they're trying to read and react to the defense, and it's changing the whole time.
Very good, very good. So Puff wasn't happy with the spotlight last night. He's looking at the spotlight too with all these questions. So how do you help our guards better see the lift pass out of the same side of the corner? And that's an interesting question, considering that all the point guards on your clips had their chin on their shoulder.
Is that what he's saying?
No, that was me finishing off. So he's wondering, how do you teach the point guard see the lift pass?
Well, that would be, head up, chin on the shoulder, as they coming off the pick, that they're scanning the floor the whole time. And again, it's just going to be that I would do that build it up from a 2-on-1 type of situation and a 2-on-2 with the coach in the corner, and them, the coach is lifting or the player is lifting, and they're not allowed pass until the defense or the coach shows the hands. So they're working the pick and roll, then they see hands, they got to make that pass. So that kind of works on that, that lift pass. But it could be pass ahead, it could be anything. Doesn't matter where the pass is coming from.
Excellent.
So it's just working on their vision the whole time.
Good. Josh McDermott. Does Sean find using ball screen offense effective against zonal defense?
I use it a lot. I like to, because we know where the rotations are coming from. But it would be a lot of either pass aheads or screen and short roll, depending on what defense. If it's going to be, let's say, the top of the screen, on top of the zone, let's say it's a 2-3. If we screen the first player, we like to, pass ahead and beat them on the rotation on the strong side. So we're coming towards the strong side, beat them on that rotation, get it down to the short corner, and then probably hit a diver from the high post. But if it's the second defender, so let's say we get the defense to shift to one side, and one of their top players takes our wing player, we'll say, we like to match up our second player, our point guard, with the second defender. So when it's reversed back, like a boomerang pass, we like to screen that player immediately, and we know that player is going to take us, and then we'll get into short rolls or lift passes, or players running the baseline. So I would use it a lot in a zone defense as well.
Nice. All right, so we leave last question with Carl McBride. When you're playing small-sided games, are you drilling particular pick and roll scenarios, which is first part, and do you have everybody play every position, or do you just have the guards using ball screens and just the forward setting it?
First part of that question, sorry again, I just forgot about it.
When you're playing small-sided games or drilling particular, when you're playing small-sided games, do you drill particular scenarios?
I would drill I would teach the concept. So it's more so the concept more so than anything else in terms of, we're looking at the follow and drop or reset. The defense goes under the first one, or they're only allowed to go under one screen, giving them decisions the whole time. So put the decision making into the players, but using constraints and rules to kind of help with that decision making. So let's say we're using the chair drill that we had in the thing. We're attacking the chair, trying to get the defense to bump into the chair or the cones or whatever it is, but we will let the defense only go under once. So that's they might go under the first one, they might not, that type of scenario. So that's what we're looking at there. And then the second question was, would I let everyone play every position? Especially at the younger ages, absolutely. I do it to a certain extent with my senior team, just so they can kind of understand everything. But on senior basketball, I would it'd be kind of 85-90% split up into guards and forwards, kind of positional stuff. Yeah. But definitely at the younger ages, I would have everyone doing everything.
So there's a few more questions that come in. I'm going to hit you with them because they're quite relevant, and I think you may have just touched on this one. Jarrett Lee, would you defend the pick and roll with switching aggressively, or would you try push the defenders through the gap? So do you think you've answered that one already, or do you want to revisit something?
I would say, yeah, I think so. I would have an aggressive switch, especially at the younger ages, if I was switching, because
yeah. Andy Hagan, I see some great double screens from the Celtics this year and the popular away double screens. Do you look at double screens at all?
I like them. I like some of the concept, the double into the flare. I like some of the concepts, but I haven't used them. I've gone away from kind of what I would use because I know I really like the flow offense.
Yeah.
But I know Jess is doing that tomorrow, I think, so kind of strayed away from that a little bit. But yeah, I do like them. I like some of the concepts that come into it because it does kind of force a switch, and I know that's why some of them use it. And it's pretty difficult to defend with a shooter as well. So one that can pick and pop and one that can roll.
Nice. And then Pat Curran. Welcome, Pat, four-nighter. How do you teach young players timing of movement of both the screener and the screen receiver?
The first thing I would do is kind of learn by doing. I would kind of just let them, introduce what we're doing, and then just let them have at it and kind of learn by doing it or making mistakes and stuff like that, and then jumping in and correcting little pieces. But I think letting them be creative and to kind of figuring that out for themselves, because it can be very different. Depends on your player and what they're able to do themselves, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Kind of let them be creative, let them make mistakes, and then if I can see something, I jump in, in terms of the timing. But again, back to what you said, is whatever happens, I think what underpins it is having an advantage, either the screener having an advantage first, or the guard having, or the player with the ball having an advantage first before we use the screen.
Some quality stuff there for the last 50+ minutes there, Sean. So I think we'll give you a quick breather, and if any more questions come in, we'll hit you with it.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks a million, Sean. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. Ciaran, welcome aboard, my man. This is what I'm waiting for, because I think video has been mentioned so much this week. You know how much of a fan I am of it. Every year he's turned me down on our video coordinator, but I get him at some point, hopefully. So let's rock on, Ciaran. Let me just let's make you presenter a second. That way then you can share your screen. So I think you have that option there now.
Yep.
You good? Super.
Yes, I'm there now.
Yeah, I can see it. So I'm about to lose my webcam and put myself on mute so that you can take the center stage. Thanks a million, Ciaran.
Super. Well, thanks for having me, Paul. So I'm going to talk about video analysis, some tips and tricks, and some process as well that I've learned over the last couple of years, especially ones that you can apply for basketball. So just an introduction, I'm going to go through an analysis toolbox. So like equipment, what you should bring with you when you're recording or analyzing games. Some simple video tips for people that aren't too techie. How best to use video with teams. Maybe some tips and tricks about coding and tagging games to save you time. Also looking at the concept of video feedback, how to present, what to present, and maybe divvying it up between the players. Looking at insights from the information that you're gathering as well, because there's no point in gathering all this data and then not doing anything with it. Some templates for scouting reports as well. So some individual and then maybe some team templates that I've just quickly put together in PowerPoint. And then overall, then we'll just go through some process flows. So maybe looking at some data in Excel and then some sports code as well for video footage. So first up is the analysis toolbox. So yeah, have your camera. You're looking for a full HD camera or 4K camera, depending on your budget. Realistically, nowadays you're probably looking at maybe 300 quid minimum, 400 quid for a good camera. And then you have your add-ons with that as well. So add-ons like your memory card, so 64 gig memory card, say for example. You're going to have your tripod, as you can see down the bottom of the screen there as well. The kind of black box you can see in around here, that would be a power charger. So say you arrived up one day and you'd forgotten to charge your camera, then away you go. You can plug that in and it'll charge while you're recording as well. So this device down here is like an external hard drive. So it's important, if you're collecting all the footage, that you have somewhere to store it as well, and that it can be backed up to there so you don't lose it in the event of something happening in your laptop. These can also be shared amongst coaches and players so that they can plug in their device and download the footage that you have as well on opposition or yourselves or whatever. I threw a GoPro in just as an example for people that don't necessarily have somebody to record their games. You can use a GoPro. It gives you good wide angle footage. You'll probably cover the full length of the court, and this has a clamp on it here, so you can just stick that on to the railings or whatever you have in around your court, and that'll just record by itself there. You don't need anybody to touch it. Go up and just end it when the game is over. So if you're not using a Windows computer, you're using a Mac like myself, you're going to need, if it's a new one, you're going to need one of these. It's an adapter. So basically Mac got rid of all the USB ports and everything, so they make you buy a connector for your laptop to connect to it. So again, you're going to have to plug in your USBs into these connections here. You can't do anything without it. So that's probably one of the most essential parts of the analysis toolbox in terms of getting the footage from your camera onto your MacBook. So when you get it onto your MacBook or your Windows, you're going to have software that you can use for editing the game footage and creating your own stats as well. So likes of the ones I'm going to go through with you is Sports Code. Then you have other ones out there like Performer Sports. You've got Knack Sport, and you have a free download of Longo Match. It used to be free. I'm not sure if it still is. But I can recommend the other three as well. Haven't used Longo Match in a long time, so I believe the latest version is very good, but I haven't got my hands on it. So from there, then, once you have all your video done and you've started to gather your statistics or on the game or whatever, you might want to spit them out into an Excel file, which I'll go through later on. They should copy out as a CSV, and then you can manipulate that into whatever way you want. If you're doing your scouting reports, like I'll go through later on as well, I'll show you how I brought in some of that as well. And then next level up, I suppose, from Excel, you transfer that into Power BI. Again, I have an example of what a masterclass one looks like. I didn't create it myself, but maybe for those techies out there, you might look at something like that. So with your video, then, like, one of the main things is storing it somewhere for your team so everybody can access. So you're gonna, like, for free, you can set up a private YouTube channel. Now there is some issues around getting people to log in, and when somebody logs in from different devices, excuse me, they need a code to get into it, or else your account will be shut off. But you can set up a channel for free, and people can log in. You can decide who logs in. You upload what videos. You can decide who sees what videos. So if you want to send certain clips to a certain player, you can do that, no problem, or to the whole team. And you can leave comments in there as well. So you can also set up a Google Drive, very similar concept, except through your Gmail. I think you might get 15 gigabytes of data free, and then after that you might have to pay monthly or an annually subscription. But again, another good tool. It allows you to separate out between individuals and your team as well. So then you've got Huddle, which would be like Sports Code. You can upload directly from Sports Code to Huddle. I know people are probably familiar with it from Paul talking about it. So I know there's a good few teams out there using it now, and it'd be interesting to see how they're using it and are they getting the most out of it as well. But Huddle, brilliant platform. You can engage with the players easily. Everyone has their own login. You can get comments in. You can ask players questions. You can draw. You can do everything. Really good, top quality stuff. Again, I'm not sure of a price, but it could be quite reasonable for a team for a year. Just some easy video tips. So if you're recording a game, try and record it from the highest point available. Nobody likes to be looking at the head level footage. You won't get much out of that. One thing, don't zoom in all the way unless you're doing like a motivational clip or something like that and you want certain footage of certain players. Keep it wide. Let's see the full offense. Let's see the full defense. And all you have to do is pan left and pan right. If you have a GoPro, you won't have to worry about this issue because it won't zoom in. Make sure your camera is on HD settings. So you want to be recording at the best quality possible, or else you'll get what's called interlacing. And interlacing is when basically the footage tries to overlap on each other and you get these lines and squiggles on your screen. HD settings would be perfect on that as well. Rolling footage. So what I know from being at the Euros and stuff is sometimes they can end it at the end of they can end the footage at the end of a quarter or at half time. My recommendation would be to let everything play through, and I'll tell you why. If you're live coding a game and you're using your iPad, you're taking a few stats, you want to, as soon as you hit start on that, it'll go start to finish. You don't want to have to hit pause or have to hit play every now and then to know that your video is hooked up with the stats that you're gathering as well. And I'll show you how that all kind of links in at the end. So your file size, so if you're recording in HD, your file size can be quite big, which means it will take longer to send to people. It will take longer to upload to your computer, and it's just a bit of a nightmare. So a trick is that if you upload to YouTube and then download it again, your quality will stay the same, but your video will be substantially smaller. If you have a MacBook, there's a software called Handbrake that you can put your video footage into, and it will compress it into a good quality size, and you won't lose any of the quality of the footage. A tip would be to use multiple angles if you have them. So if you had a GoPro and you have somebody to record your game from an angle side on, why not use it? Why not get footage from behind the basket or the other side of the court, just to give multiple angles? And with the more expensive software, there is a facility to use both angles at the same time. So you can sync, say, at the throw in, and both videos will play simultaneously side by side, which is an excellent feature. So when and why to use video? So why you'd use video: technical analysis, so maybe shooting mechanics, training. Then you're looking at, there's an option there for you if you were to use video at training, that you could have feedback instantly. So maybe like as simple as you'd set up a projector. So if you were training, say, in a school, and you had access to a classroom that had a projector in it, maybe you could hook up your computer to the projector, and then you could have the footage that you've just recorded at training ready to go for, say, the players were coming in for lunch or whatever. You could play it back through, or there was something that you wanted to talk through before you went out on the court. Everything will be there for you on the projector, ready to go. Your pre-game plan. So if you're presenting a scouting report, you want to present it with some video clips. You're live in game, so it's more of like a high performance setup, maybe that you'd have a couple of iPads there, coding the game as it's happening. And with some of the software out there, you can actually code the game as it's going, and they'll give you the live footage if you have your footage connected in, which is great. You might see examples down here below where you could avail of some of this. For your post-game review, you want to see how things went. A lot of the software nowadays will enable you to draw circles, arrows, and this will all help with your feedback of the game. And for motivational clips as well, I know I've done multiple motivational clips over the years, but it's always good to have them. And if you're involved with maybe an international setup or whatever, parents will always be looking for the games as kind of memorabilia and stuff as well. So this here is just an example of Hoffenheim, I think, in Germany, how they use video analysis. That's at the side of their pitch. Now, obviously, there's a lot of money there, but similar concept can be rolled out with a projector at the side of your hall or whatever it is. So coding and tagging games. So if you imagine this picture here, this is your iPad, and you click field goal, 2-point made, and then you click a person. So these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these are your players. So it's as easy as somebody scores, you click in field goal, 2-point made, miss, 3-point made, miss, and attributing that to a player. So you can see here, Ireland field goal, 2-point made, and then underneath that it could have, say, player 5, but they haven't picked a player for this particular instance. So what that looks like is, if you click on 2-point made or 2-point missed in this case, these here will create a drop-down menu with the names of the person in that and how many 2-point shots they've missed. So I've gone through some software, and I just can't reiterate enough. If you have the opportunity to live code and to use an app such as Performa, or I know Naxport have an app as well, and Sports Code, you can use Huddle. It'll just save you time. If you can get somebody, maybe move away from pen and paper and get somebody onto an iPad, because basically what they're doing with this is they're creating a timeline of events, and each time you press a button here, it triggers like a video instance. So for example, if you upload your game after you've done all your tagging as your game is going on, you upload it, and you upload it with your video that's all synced nicely together from the throw up. So you can click into these, and with that you'll get the video clip of that particular instance. So the export is an XML or CSV export, and XML for the video, CSV is for the data. So you upload your XML and then that will link in with your video as well. So the benefits of this are that you'd get clips straight away. So if me as an analyst, I want to get the coded game to the coach straight away, so they can go off and analyze, and then I can start working on the individual side of the analysis. So I would have coded games live, 3 or 4 key buttons: offense, defense, and maybe baseline out of bounds or sideline out of bounds or whatever it was. And after we've gone to watch the game, I'd be able to link the coded version with the video and send it straight to the coach, and away they can go. And then that buys me time then if I want to dig a little deeper into the team or get the presentations ready. So you can also get your insights from this as well. So I'll show you that in Excel, what I've done. I got a sample data set from the guys here, and I've just done some simple manipulation on it. So feedback sessions using the video. So I would normally recommend 15 to 20 minutes max. Maybe the kind of bullshit sandwich, you know, one positive, one negative, and then finish with a positive. Wouldn't be prone, or wouldn't advise singling people out negatively. So like running a play or showing a play on the screen that would maybe make a player feel bad or whatever like that. Keep the clips short, sharp. So no 2-minute long clips. Just show the play what you want, and have your notes in your head about what you want them to get out of it as well, and the kind of buzzwords you're looking to create around that. So I've worked with a couple of coaches that are pause coaches, and some like to let it flow. So pausing would be you're watching a video and it's what would you do there, or what would you do better. My preference would be let the video play, then go through it again and ask some questions during the session of the players. So let them watch it straight through, and then let them think about what's going on, and then let them ask questions, or you ask questions of them. Another possibility is to get the players to present. So you could split, like you're looking at your opposition scout, and you want to pick 2 players to look at offense, 2 players defense. You want to see what are the team trends, what kind of plays are they running, who are the key threats, and then finally, how are you going to nullify them? So that's just, it's something that would be maybe kind of new concept. I know a lot of coaches would stand up and deliver the presentation themselves, but might be something to keep a watch on maybe the next time you're presenting, or to get the players to do it. So from an insights perspective, it's all about what can you measure. So I know you're probably local club team, or you're maybe lucky enough to be involved in an international setup. You might have people there that can help you with this as well. But I see a lot of kind of pen and paper stuff, and then at the end of the game, it's all thrown away, and it's kind of like forget about it and on to the next one. So if you really want to get insights, you want to look at what you can measure over a period of time. So is it actually a trend in our game? You want to look at linking multiple measures together. So take offensive rebounds, for example, and linking them with points scored in transition, or points or steals, and then turning steals into scores, and you want to get a percentage of those. So you can really hammer it down what you want your players to do. So you're looking for trends in your game, like I've mentioned. So what actually is our toughest defense? So you want to see, are you better off in a zone, or are you better off man-to-man? Just for an example, very high level. Take a look at your plays and see how many stops did you get in each. That might be an indication. What is your most successful play? What are you scoring from? Most of all. So these are kind of things we would have looked at previously in international setups. Where does the team score the most points? Main questions you want to be asking is who and how. So you find out where they're scoring the most points and work backwards then. So who's supplying, and how, what are they doing in order to get that person to that spot, or whatever like that. Just run the numbers on it and see what you come up with. You might find yourself that it isn't exactly what you thought, or maybe it is exactly what you thought, but you never know. So I put this together for Paul. It's just an individual opposition analysis. So we're looking at the Cork Masters, and we are the Dublin Masters basketball. So we've got this is just a template I put together in PowerPoint. Again, whatever amount of players you're looking at, you could have 12 or 15 or whatever it is. It doesn't take that long to put together. So you're looking at their position, their height, average minutes, what hand are they, and the strengths and some weaknesses. So you've also got down here in the corner, you've got score and attempts. So if you're using the kind of iPads and the software that I've been showing, you can easily get these because it would log all your games, and you can go in and just screenshot them and throw them in. Some key metrics, these are stuff that I've quickly just done in Excel and plucked the numbers out of God knows where. So like if you were looking at a center or whatever, you're looking at finishing in the paint and trying to emphasize the players, okay, right, what can we do to prevent that? So where to look. So if as a video analyst, you know the kind of games and the quarters inside out, so you might be able to give a pointer to players where they can go to find this, because realistically they're probably not going to review the whole game, especially if they have multiple. And just kind of your kind of team kind of maybe philosophies are, how do we minimize his strengths, how do we exploit his weaknesses, and what actions within our team can we represent. So if I was to take the individual then and moving on to the kind of team look, pretty similar. Maybe you might have some plays. This is just an example. I plucked this off the internet. So you might have some plays down here, what you think they're trying to run, and just things to kind of bring to make your players aware of. So you've got some key metrics here. So how do they compare to other teams in the league? So just to emphasize that this is something that we really need to lock down. We really need to go after against these guys, because they're better than everyone else in the league at it. So their last three games, you might put in like an infographic like this, just kind of trying to hammer home the message of what you're really trying to get at. And again, sticking to your, how do we minimize their strengths, their weaknesses, and how does this look? What do we need to do, basically? So I'll just run you through some process flows very quickly. So for example, I will start with sports code. So this is what your sports code window would look like. So down here is your kind of your video timeline. Now it's similar for most software, and this is just the one I happen to have on this computer. So here I've just basically created a new code window, is what it's called. So I'd go in, I'd go File, New, Code Window. I'd drag in my codes. You can rename them whatever you want. Sorry. You can rename them here, whatever you want. 1, 2, 3. And you can set what's called a lead and a lag time. So a lead would be from the moment I click this button, I want you to go back 10 seconds. And a lag would be from the moment I click this button, I want you to continue. But you can set them for as long as you want as well. So if I've hit my code, here we go, game is live. Okay, so I'm on defense. Just going to speed it up for the purpose of this. Now I'm on offense, and I can turn off my defense. Away we go. And then down here, I have my video instances, so I can just watch back on that very quickly. So I've no lag, I've no lead on this. It's just from when I click the button and stop the button. So that would be offense 1. So if I was doing an individual player, I'd have multiple codes along here. I just double click on this and they'd all play simultaneously. Then you export the video, and you can upload it onto your Google Drive, or your Google Classroom is another one as well. And you can set tasks. So if I was to put up all the offense clips and assign them, like I said, with the video feedback to certain players, they'd go away. They'd have all the clips on Google Drive, YouTube, Google Classroom, and they'd come back to you with a report. And you can take from that what you want, obviously. But it could potentially fit into a simple deck like this, where you'd have your individual or your team. Okay, so this again is just how I got the graphs. So it's just simple. Excel, league average, offensive rebounds, Cork offensive rebounds, put in what numbers you want and change them. 20, and your graphs will change. And you can have these, you can have multiple lines down here, just something very, very quick that I put together. Okay. So I mentioned about coding live, and I've used an app called Performer, so I know what it operates like. So when you take this out into Excel, this is what it looks like. Now I know it probably looks like a load of garbage and a lot going on, but you can pretty easily make sense of it. So you've got your game period, which your quarters, you've got your outcome. These names are your your KPIs or whatever. So you've got field goal, rebounds, turnovers. Then you've got your players. So you would have set up your players in your app before you went. So if you were to turn this into some insights pretty quickly, you want to see, okay, show me who made the most 3-pointers in the game. So drag across. All the way down. Insert your pivot table. You got your new one. And then you have your field lists up here. So you just drag in your name. Basically, I'm kind of doing an art attack on it. This is something I created earlier on. So you've got your name, your game period, your outcome, and who it was. So you want to flick in here, 2-point made. Again, this will be really useful for your own teams, but also really useful for opposition teams. And again, you can make this that your players can go in and have a look as well. Depending on your skills, I've no problem walking people through this if they've no clue about Excel or whatever. This is what it's all about, just getting people out and using the software and not just throwing it away after one game. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing people not kind of make a database of what they're actually looking at so they can measure how they are actually performing week on week or whatever it is. So yeah, get the idea there. I mentioned the kind of better version for visualization and stuff. So Power BI. So here's something that I didn't create, but so this would be an option. So your players would log into a Power BI account. It's free online, and you can create stuff like this. Again, I know it's high level stuff, but you can see how it could be used. It might be beneficial for maybe the international teams, not so much at club level, but there is plenty of tutorials and videos on how to create stuff like this. It isn't rocket science. It's just a matter of matching up what you've already coded and putting it into a certain column. So that's me for this evening, short and sweet. So if you have any questions, they would be greatly appreciated.
Ciaran, thanks a million. I am now having my rear end handed to me on all platforms. 2 seconds, just drop the old phone. Right, so I have questions coming in from everywhere, phone, media, and on our webinar. So,
Excellent.
Quick one. 2 seconds. I'm going to turn on the light there a second. Give me a sec. All right, so back to normality. Okay, so a couple of questions. Speaking of Huddle have just come in, and it's a $430 starting price for the year, and are willing to offer a discount for Irish-based coaches. So what I will do is put the email address in the questions, or will I put it in the chat? I'll put it in the chat in a couple of seconds. So, first question, actually, what is your opinion of showing athletes video footage during the game?
I'd imagine it's rather difficult to do, but in a structured game like basketball, I'd say it would be beneficial. I know for other sports it wouldn't be, obviously, but basketball kind of lends itself to that kind of stuff. But it could be a step too far, in terms of you might be pushing it out a little bit. I know a lot of people who are listening or whatever like that mightn't have the capabilities to code full stop, but if you can do it, I'm sure it's down to each individual. But for me, I wouldn't do it. I haven't done it, so I wouldn't know.
From a coach's perspective, I think, you sub a guy out if you had a video guy and you had an assistant coach or something like that on that. No, it's fairly advanced, and I suppose it's probably pro level stuff, really. I mean, you see Jurgen Klopp and his assistants during Liverpool games. They show it on video, and then they have it pretty much knocked out at half time or whatever. But substitutions, you could do it. Halftime, definitely, if you had that sort of technology. Have you looked into the importance of analyzing rotations with statistics and video, like which five works well together, or which five doesn't work well together, or forward pairing, guard pairings, things like that?
Yeah, it's been something that I've wanted to look into for a good while, but I've been out of the basketball scene for a while now. But I know there is a lot done on the NBA and stuff like that, on best five on the court, and I think with FIBA, correct me if I'm wrong, you can get some stuff about kind of negative contribution, positive contribution as well. I remember stuff like that, but I haven't done it now myself. I couldn't even think of where it starts with a formula to get something together to give you that. I'd imagine there's a lot of variables involved, but I'm sure somebody has a formula out there that you can calculate it on.
There's actually, so I think Huddle are actually working on that, and I know there's one stats program in particular on iPad. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'd have to look at my iPad to do that. Speaking of iPads and your HD camera for recording, I use my iPad for all my recording. HD is really good in it. I think I have the iPad Mini 2, I think. It's really, really good. Downloads into your iMovie or your Final Cut Pro pretty quickly too. So
I remember you were using your phone a while back, that fancy iPhone.
The iPhone. I mean, I think the quality is good. So you're double dipping on having a high quality phone or iPad and your camera all in one go.
The only thing about that would be the size of the file on your phone.
Yeah, I invest in the size of my phone. So,
that's what I mean.
Yeah. In tournament with games daily, I'll have to reread that one. How could you utilize video during lockdown to improve your team? And are you doing anything with teams in this regard?
So, as in, like right now, how can you improve it?
So like what kind of, so are you sending them clips to analyze? Are you sending teams clips? Are you, like you mentioned, Google Classroom? I'm a guidance counselor, so we're using Google Classroom in our lessons at the minute and stuff like that. So you might have actually answered that a while ago in terms of using Google Classroom and analyzing clips and stuff. So is that something more that you do?
Yeah, there's Google Classroom is great. Like, and I'm sure you know yourself, you can set up assignments and stuff on it as well, so you can get feedback from everyone pretty instantly. Then you could have your Google Drive as well. I'm not sure the capability about feedback on Google Drive for each clip, but I'm pretty sure you can drop comments into your YouTube accounts and stuff like that. But yeah, like take this time now to set stuff up.
Like Google Forms is another one. You can make a quiz out of it and stuff like that, and you can put video on it, and you can give the answer within it, so you wouldn't even have to correct it. You just kind of already have your Google Forms set up as well. So that's a pretty neat thing to do as well. There was something else. Google Drive only has 15 gig. Google Photos has unlimited, correct? And you could put video in that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Huff Summers, have the Irish teams you've worked with used video from a training perspective compared to the Dublin teams or Dublin teams that you've worked with, and how beneficial do you think reviewing practice is? And that's actually coming from a number of people.
Well, yeah, especially when I was part of Tommy's program, we would have done it all the time. And the first year, I think 2014, I was part of the program with Ciaran Toner as well. We would have done a lot of it. So with Tommy's, we would have done video all the time, and we would have had like a projector set up ready to go at the side, so we could debrief as it was happening. And like you could have had a live setup there as well. We probably did a couple of times. But again, if the coach lends himself or herself to this kind of video and puts it as a priority, then you can set up things pretty easily. Like, I mean, it's just about plugging your camera into your computer, and while your computer's connected to your projector, and away you go. Like, even if it's only a 15-second clip, it's only going to take you 1 second to get onto your laptop.
Very good, very good. Good man, Georgiego, asking who's my photographer. How long would it take you to code the game when you get it at the Euros?
If we're going full individual analysis on it, you're probably looking at maybe 3 hours. Before that, then you'd have your live code done, so you'd have your offense, defense clips, you'd have your out of bounds clips, any other kind of special plays as well, whatever buttons you had, moments that you wanted tagged for the coach, so understanding what the coach is going to be looking for, you'd have all those done. So it's just about buying yourself time then, just to go through all the individual pieces. If you were putting together a scouting report there and looking for some data points or whatever like that,
Very good.
Could take you maybe 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah, because when I do clipping, it's anywhere from 2.5, but that's on a different platform. But Orla Keeling, I think I'm reading this right. Looking back on when you began video and stats, what advice would you give yourself? So I guess that's probably something in the line of, what's the first thing you'd focus on, I suppose, if you were starting video and stats again? What's the first element you'd work on?
Understanding the coaches and understanding what they're looking for, because you can go in as far as you want. I mean, you could look into that best 5 on the floor thing if you really wanted to, but you're going to be wasting your time if the coach is looking for other stuff straight away. From a technical perspective, is buy a good camera that will last you years. Buy a good tripod that will last you years, because you'll get so much use out of it. That's just from an equipment perspective. Kind of for my own personal learning, it's always think about what can go wrong. Like the very first GAA match I showed up to record, I opened the camera and the battery was dead. Local rivalry, and from then I've never had that problem. But when stuff like that does happen to you, you learn pretty quick. From a software kind of perspective, just try and get free demos on what you can. If you ask nicely, you might get what you're looking for. I know I've used multiple softwares because different coaches were using different ones, so dabble in them all. They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah. I learned today that all coaches should have a bit of humor, and that video is part of the coaching team. So Liam Cullity wants to ask, how many hours does Tommy O'Mahony owe you?
A lifetime, I'd say. Analysing Macedonia until 4 a.m.
Yeah, you always can do that. Orla back again. How did you get involved with Irish basketball squads and the Dublin team?
I was in college with Nabs, who was a assistant coach with Ciaran Toner's program in 2014, and he was looking for a video analyst to travel to Tallinn for the Euros, so I reached out, and then when I got back from that, I reached out to Andy Gill in Basketball Ireland, and he asked me would I join, or I asked him could I join, and he said yeah. And then 2 years after that, then just from getting to know people, and I know you've tried yourself a couple of times, Paul, but hasn't been as successful. But yeah, just send in an email or whatever into Basketball Ireland and say you were looking to volunteer as a video analyst, and away you go. I'm sure somebody will pick you up.
Definitely, always looking for one. I guess from a coach's perspective, I guess last summer I did all the video myself, and it definitely did hurt other elements of the program that I would have preferred to have done. So we're always looking for volunteer video analysis, as all the staff are volunteers as well. So it's always something we could definitely utilize. Often? Sorry.
No, it's important that all coaches are, like your assistant coaches as well, are kind of tech savvy with it as well, because it can save you a hell of a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Even with the numbers and stuff like that.
How often do you do video sessions with teams during the seasons? For example, do you do video sessions before, after training, or a dedicated indoor session, or alternatively just send it out individually, which is actually something I was about to ask as well, in terms of, so we use WhatsApp quite a bit, where I put a few clips together, send into the group, which goes back to your point earlier about letting them see it first and then analyzing it. So we would always put our video together, get it down into a small file, send it on WhatsApp, let them see it, and that allows us to run through the video afterwards, or during the video session, and then maybe touching a few points that are unnecessary as well. But again, not singling out anybody positively or negatively in that respect either, where you're overpraising or underpraising a little bit. So so sorry, I probably answered that question for you. So if you want to touch base, then apologies.
I'll on that
one. Have you learned anything with the Dubs, video-wise or other, that you would do if you were involved with international teams in the future?
It's probably around using the live code to build out your data set as well, and how much time that can actually save you if you have the bodies to do it. And probably storing all that information, and not just looking at one game in isolation and seeing, is there a trend in your season that you're not actually looking at, because you're just looking at it game by game and you're forgetting it by the time you get to the next game. And insights will be a big one as well. So not just looking at statistics in isolation, looking at how they happen and why they happen and what you can do to prevent that as well. Again, I'm not from a technical background in basketball, so it was more the numbers that would stick with me rather than why they're happening. So using that kind of understanding from the coaches as well, to seeing, okay, right, well, that number is actually quite high for something that I'd expect to be a little bit lower. I didn't know we were conceding whatever it was from that.
Very
just
good.
Question.
Very, very good. I think, so I think we're pretty much wrapped up there. Amazing again, well over time, but it's well worth it. And I think you've been a breath of fresh air, and I think we're adding stuff every night to the curriculum, and I think people are getting a lot out of it. As I said earlier, the Huddle link and code are in the handouts again. In the chat, I put Mark's email address to contact Avenir Sports for Huddle. And tomorrow, remember, we are at the earlier time of midday, because our Irish coaches out in Australia are up late. That's at 8 p.m. their time. So we are starting tomorrow at 12 midday, as we are on Saturday, to give you guys Saturday evening to yourselves, and then back with Alan Keane at 7 p.m. on Sunday. So tomorrow, delighted to bring in Paddy Fleming, and he is actually going to switch his talk from defensive formations to pick and roll defense, and then Jess is going to talk about flow offense a little bit in Australia, which is something I'm very interested in. And then on Saturday morning, we'll have Peter Madsen, S&C, and the guy I think that has changed spacing in senior basketball in Ireland, Colin O'Reilly, with those multiple national titles in 3 years. I think it was 9 or 10 on the spin. So very much looking forward to that. And on Sunday, Alan Keane is going to talk about the international steps that players need to take to make that. And then just secured while we were talking Mike Bree as well. So we will go tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and then we go Tuesday, Thursdays for the following weeks. And we have Danny Nelson, Tommy O'Mahony, and Michael Bree locked in and chasing down a few more coaches on top of that as well. So it looks like we're going to be continuing on for a while in this lockdown. So hopefully we'll be able to bring some stuff to you guys. But we are getting there, and Puff is ripping me already. So guys, I'll let you go. We've been on a long time. See you guys tomorrow, 12 noon, and let's keep it going and grow and keep our growth going. So thanks a million, Sean. Thanks a million, Ciaran. Fantastic stuff, and see you guys. Thanks, guys.